Ooh, I do want to talk about this. So the Greek Nationals happened like a couple days ago, and we do have the top 16 deck breakdown. And oh my god, there was fucking nothing. There was a bunch of random stuff like Yugioh Pure. We had like White Forest, Mermail, like Fiends, like Apophis, Centurion, Memento. You know, a bunch of like you know, tier 2 and like tier 1 decks. Like some rogue that like stuck in there. Because, you know, Greece is like a pretty weird region. And, of course, 10 billion Mitsurugi. But you may have noticed that there was a noticeable lack of Malice. But before we get into today's video, this video is brought to you by Summoner's Nexus. Summoner's Nexus is a digital indie TCG that's been in development for the past 4 years out of love for games like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Marvel Snap. The game is designed for a dynamic back and forth with both players taking turns simultaneously and neither player ever feeling completely shut out of the game or feel like they're watching their opponent perform a cutscene while they're comboing off. The game is currently available in early alpha, which is completely free to download and play on both Android and iOS, with a PC port coming in the near future. With hundreds of cards currently in rotation and a passionate team putting everything on the line behind it, I highly recommend for you all to give Summoner's Nexus a look at the link on screen and in the description down below. Thank you again to Summoner's Nexus. No Malice whatsoever. And Malice, it was like, why? Malice is like a good deck. When you go to like yugioh Pro deck, and you look at like Malice like top cut representations, it's like 22% of like top cuts. You know, like Mitsurugi, we have Malice, and like these are like the main 2 decks. But like, why does Malice never seem to convert? Is it like too hard? Is it like too expensive? Like the easy answers is, oh, Jesus Christ, even at this regional, it's a fucking runner-up. Who won the Panama National Champions? Yep, what the fuck, Regenesis! Anyways, one of the big answers is, holy shit, this deck is so easy to beat. Now, what do I mean by that? What the fuck does like Malice is easy to beat even mean? When you look at like any side deck, or like any main deck honestly, it is very, very easy to look at a bunch of cards and be like, yeah, these cards kind of shit on Malice. Because Malice has like so many tools, at the same time, Malice just has a bunch of new choke points, where a lot of hand traps that were originally kind of bad into Malice are now a lot better. Like before, Ash Blossom was kind of shit. You maybe use it on like Red Ransom or whatever the fuck that card is. But right now, like Ash Blossom is pretty good versus backup or like when I first met you. When you look at Fualos, this card fucking shits on Malice. Like they make the half board, and then like if you're playing Yugioh Mitsurugi, assuming you didn't open like, you know, Futsu Aramasa, you're fucking gaming. Perulia, which basically almost did nothing before, now is like their normal summon. The Bestial that they maybe hard open. The March Hare, the backup at Ignister, the Wizard at Ignister. Look at Lancia. Like if you don't open a way to backup, like you fucking insta lose. Meows, this card just fucking says like, yeah, I guess I'm just gonna let my opponent draw like a bajillion trillion cards. I guess I'll go fuck myself. Nibiru used to not even be that good because they can play through it. But sometimes, if they're forced to go into backup at Ignister routes, Nibiru hurts a lot harder, especially after like all the Splash Mage shenanigans, where you go like guy into guy, to link to, and like some of the backup, and then you make the Splash Mage, and then like, ah! Like Droll, even Droll has some applications, because if you Droll them on like Terraforming Search Field spell, like all of a sudden they don't get Chessy Cat draws, they don't get Red Ransom draws, they don't get to like cycle with like MTP, they don't get to like search when I first met you, they don't get the backup. That's just like the unfortunate reality. Like Malice is just like not very good at playing through interruption, funnily enough. Or more specifically, there exists a lot of interruption that is now just very good at all points in some relevant manner versus Malice. Like there's not going to be such thing as like a dead hand trap versus Malice. Now obviously if all you open is like Nibiru, or like all you open is like Imperm, and like your opponent opens like Field Spell Goldstark, then like yeah, you're gonna want to go fuck yourself. Like good job, bro. We did our best. But you know, that's Malice. So because there's like a bunch of extremely hyper targeted ways to beat Malice, it allows for a lot more Malice pilots who are like better than their opponent to just get out skill checked. You know what I mean? And by what do I mean by that? This format's like kind of weird. It's like arguably skill testing. This is like you're the GOAT and this is like you're the shit. This format's in like a pretty good spot where like if you're like a 5 out of 10 and like you're against like a 7 out of 10 duelist, like 9 out of 10 times 7 out of 10 duels is just gonna shit on you. Maybe the 1 out of 10 is just like because like you bricked or whatever, but like most of the time if you guys put each other in like a room, like the better player is always gonna come out on top. With Malice, things kind of take a weird spot. Things kind of take like a weird turn where it's like, if you're like a 7 out of 10 Malice player, random 4s and 3s are just also able to beat you. Players who are just randomly playing like Mitsurugi Ryziel, who are just like fucking drilling their cards like a robot, and you know, but like just randomly open like Fua, Lancia, Ash Imperm Nib, and like Prayers Habakiri, like you just lose. You cannot beat those players. And especially when you consider that over like a long tournament run, it makes it so that a lot more Malice players are just able to get like sniped out of bracket or lose matches that they realistically shouldn't be losing. Now, don't get me wrong, and me saying this, be thinking like, oh, does Stevie think this is a good format? Absolutely fucking not. I think this format kind of sucks dick. When I say that like the better player usually wins, that's kind of like a half truth. If people are within like a stone's throw of each other, like maybe the 7 out of 5 should have been like it should have been like a 7, like a 3, or like a 7 out of 4. But if you're like a 7 versus like a 9, or like a 5 versus a 7, as long as you guys are like reasonably within like the same skill gap, it really is just compare opening hands and be like, well, you open Mission of the Gnomes? Must be nice, bro. Or like you go to Malice and like, oh, I opened like Impulse like Perulia versus like Mitsurugi Ryziel. Sucks to be you. Also, holy shit, so many games are determined by Charmies. I fucking hate Charmies. It is so disgusting to have to deal with that shit every fucking day of the week. But yeah, just like that weird combination of like factors, as well as the fact that like Malice playlines are like moderately difficult compared to like Ryziel Mitsurugi. That's kind of why like I think Malice just always fails to convert. And I think it failing to convert and pro players kind of moving away from the deck as a whole is a sign that like, yeah, I think Malice is just not that good of a deck. I think Malice is still a very, very strong deck. I think that like in no way you're behind just because you're playing Malice. But I do think that you can be making better competitive decisions. And if you want to play a deck that has like a very large critical weak point, you might as well just play the deck that has like the highest ceiling imaginable in like Mitsurugi Ryziel. Like that deck is like unbeatable unless you open like Droll or like Perulia and like another guy. And even then, like sometimes like that deck can play through Perulia pretty fucking well. Like sometimes can't really beat like Fualos, but holy shit, under Perulia, this deck just does not care half the time if you open like well enough. I still can't understand how Konami could hear so many Match Duel players complain about Max C and then make an archetype of it. It's because these are different, Rez. You don't understand. It's like a third of a Max C. You know, just don't worry about it. Don't think too hard about that statement. I don't know. Konami card design is like always silly. Anyways, that's just like my general quick thoughts about like I think like Malice flops so often. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Let me know if you guys play the deck and you guys share or do not share my opinions. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.